Hi, I'm josephrlewis, and I write adventures. And I play adventures, and I run adventures, and I watch them, and I think about them a lot. And I think about how we choose to escape and have fun together at the table. And as the title of this video suggests, I don't love the fact that this hobby, and indeed our culture, is so centered on violence. How dare I? This hobby, I know, has a long and storied history of combat, of violence, from early days of wargaming and heroic fiction going back centuries. Heroes battling the forces of evil things, killing monstrous things, killing people. And look, I'm not special. I grew up in mainstream American culture. I've seen countless acts of violence in everything from children's cartoons to video games to sitcoms, comic books, comic book movies, historical dramas, everything in between. I'm steeped in this culture. It feels normal to me, and that feeling bugs me. It's bugged me for a very long time, and it's something that you have to realize about yourself, and then get some perspective on, and sort of climb out of, and try to figure out a different way of thinking and feeling when you're enculturated a certain way, which is tricky, which is hard. So look, I know that our hobby has this very long tradition of combat-focused play, and I know that people enjoy fantasy violence, escapism. I'm no different. Sometimes I really want to vent and get away and just kill a demon with some of my friends and feel like I have some control of the world and can make my problems go away. I understand that feeling. And I know that if I'm tired of that feeling, there are countless other games out in the space that are not violence-centered or combat-focused, games that are centered on investigation or exploration or diplomacy or any other kind of central mechanic. I know that those options are out there. But I really like fantasy adventures. This is the space I like to be in and I want to stay in. I'm a very serious Hobbit fan, but I'm also at a point in my life where the omnipresence of violence in all of my media and games and everything I watch and play is kind of starting to wear me down. So how do we write adventures? They're still fantasy adventures that are less violent. The good news is we have a lot of options. For one, we as writers, as adventure writers, first we need to stop setting up our players to have a violent encounter as the default option. So how do we do that? Well, to start, we need to have fewer locations where there is a dangerous antagonist who attacks on sight, or is naturally hostile. This means that room descriptions and random encounter tables need to stop defaulting this idea that there's a thing in this room that wants to fight you. We should not be stocking our adventures, our tables, what have you, with combat scenarios as the default. But instead, we can put other things that are dynamic and interesting and dangerous, like encounters like traps, all sorts of traps, magical, mechanical, whatever they are, natural hazards, stampeding herds, burning buildings, plague victims, insect swarms, sinking ships, untouchable ghosts, things that we can encounter, think about, interact with, using a lot of different methods, have a satisfying moment at the table together, overcome a challenge, and move forward without having to kill a thing. Something else we can do is use more intelligent antagonists. So instead of mindless feral beasts and undead, we can use baddies that the heroes can talk to and negotiate with, or bribe, or outsmart. And that's something that I tried to do a lot of in Witches of Frostwick, where almost every baddie is a witch, or a demon, or a ghost, or someone who you can negotiate with, or become allies with, or outsmart in some way without having to, by default, resort to swordplay. So I think that makes for more interesting and memorable encounters if you're doing more than just I hit it with my sword and it falls down. Something else we can do as adventure writers is create these dynamic and complex confrontations where there are more interesting outcomes and possibilities, and design them right into the text. So for instance, let's say the heroes are trying to track down the evil wizard. So instead of the evil wizard sitting in his throne room or what have you with his minions, waiting for the heroes to arrive, so he can then fight them. We should have the wizard doing something. They could be building something, tearing something down, excavating something. But let's just say the evil wizard is doing an evil ritual. So in some amount of time, something evil is going to happen. It's going to summon a demon or what have you. But we can put the evil wizard sort of out of reach. He's way up high, or he's in a bubble or something. So our heroes can't harm them, but they can interfere with the ritual. They can still mess up what's going on. So instead of this being a combat encounter where we need to kill the wizard just by default, or kill the wizard before the ritual, well, now you can't really kill the wizard. He's out of reach in some way. He's protected. But you can mess with the ritual. So now the goal is, let's stop the ritual before it happens. And we can design that encounter to be complex and interesting. You need to overcome some barriers. You need to manipulate something in the room. You need to use your tools and magics and what have you to stop this ritual from proceeding, whatever that is. It shouldn't just be do 100 points of damage to the ritual. We can do better than that. So then, after the ritual is thwarted and ended, we don't want the wizard to just come out of his protected bubble and come down and then fight, because we're trying to avoid just a default violent encounter. We can say in our adventure text, if the ritual is thwarted, or when the ritual is thwarted, the evil wizard teleports away to location 99, some other room, and begins ritual number 2, or some other activity. Which the heroes will then try to run off and thwart as well. But that way we're still having encounters, we're still having memorable things happen, we're still making progress forward in our plot or story, but it's not through direct violence. We're not killing people and things all the time. We are overcoming challenges, which makes us feel smart and useful and effective, but it doesn't have to be necessarily by hitting things with a sharp object. Something else we can do, which I've talked about a little bit in other videos, is that we can transform some of these scenes or encounters from a traditional encounter where there's a creature with a stat block where you're probably going to fight it, to being some kind of complex skill challenge. Not even that complex. But maybe instead of fighting the dire wolves, we need to tame them. Maybe the strangling vines need to be fertilized or pruned. Maybe the barbarians need to be drunk under the table. Maybe the guards just need to be bribed the right way. Maybe the rage bear just needs to be fed something. And again, we can just put this in our adventure text. We can say, look, there's this thing. It's in your way. There's too many of them to fight, or it's too big to fight, or there's obvious functions in the environment which make it unfightable. But here are some obvious signs of what they want or what they need, and what your players can do to try to manipulate them in order to overcome this challenge and get past this obstacle. And I think that's more fun, again, and more memorable than just, oh, remember that session when we killed 14 things in a row? I think that's more fun. So with a little more thought and creativity on our part as writers, I think we can present our players with interesting, dynamic, complex challenges where they can use their resources and their own human creativity to find cool solutions without defaulting to combat. I just feel that right now, for where I am in my life, this is where I want to focus more of my time and energy, and what I want to be creating, and what I want other people to be enjoying. I want people to have more interesting and diverse experiences. I think there's plenty of content out there already where you get to hit something with a stick. So I'd like to try to elevate the conversation a little bit and put something else in front of folks to have different experiences. And I think that's all of my rambling for today. Thanks so much, and good luck out there.